I'm going to call this meeting to order, and we have to add ratifying 9A to our bills for payment. And we're also going to have, it's not in the agenda, but we're going to have an information session on the special town meeting on November 14th. Do you see it?
No, the special town meeting is
It's up
November 14th.
But
Yes,
at the top-
we're going to have,
It says informational meeting
Informational.
tonight.
Right.
oh, there, oh,
Yes.
that's where it went, that's why I didn't see it. All right, so with that, we have the minutes, we'll go right into our regular program, and the minutes of the 24th.
So I'll move that we approve the minutes of the select board meeting that was held on October 24th.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, then we have warrants 10, 10P, recreation number 3, and ratifying 9A.
So I would move that we approve warrants 10, 10P, recreation number 3, and we ratify, tell me again.
9A.
9A.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? Warrant 10 is for $18,341.70, and most of that was in payroll transfers, our county tax installment, which was $6,384. The Wyndham County Humane Society, $466 is what we pay each year. Wyndham Regional Commission assessment of $4,181, and then there were highway department supplies and fuel, some gravel. And that was pretty much it. Any more discussion?
Oh, good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Any comments? Visitors? No? All right. So the zoning administrator has given us an updated curb cut permit application for review. And everyone did you have a chance to look
Yes.
through that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you want to come up to the table?
Yep.
All right, let me grab that highway department. What do you think of it, Lee?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I can't remember what we did end up adding afterwards, but it has the floodplain and the wetlands.
Yep.
And the same thing was the picture. I think it'd be nice to try to have a picture with everyone, or at least everyone that's questionable, or where anyone has any concerns. And I think he wanted just some more details on the, locations. And
Roger
stuff.
did.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, which makes sense.
And didn't he also want to make sure that if they applied for a curb cut, if there was other permits that
Had been,
may need to be applied for?
Right,
Yeah.
right, if they, and I can't remember what he did actually call it, but it was one of those with the, water runoff, dealing with that, with the zoning permit also, further up the driveway,
Mhm.
and those kind of things, but, no, I thought it was good, and good to update.
Okay. So what would you like to do? Would you like to have that become our new curb cut?
yeah, I mean, Lee, as long as Lee is comfortable with it and it doesn't seem onerous, it's giving us good information.
There's one part that says, and the applicant will comply with all zoning regulations, and so a person coming to get a driveway cut might not know what all the different zoning regulations were, and so a little guidance maybe might be
Yep.
good, but without making it a 70-page application, but.
Yeah, I was trying to think of and you might already do it, I don't know, but is there like a, packet that, with a new resident who moves into town might get, or same thing when putting in a house, kind of a.
Yeah, or maybe we just add a line that say, check with the zoning administrator.
Right, these are the things we need permits for, and these what.
Is there a checklist that goes with the zoning permits?
Is that in here?
I'm not
I'm
sure about
sorry.
zoning permits, there is on curb cuts, like 90 degrees and
Right.
sight distance and those kind of things, but I really don't know much about the zoning permits.
Okay. Do we want to have a motion to adopt this as our new curb cut application?
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the updated curb cut permit application. Yeah, okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if it says, I mean, I wish I were looking at it right now, but if it says and will comply with whatever, and someone is reading that and they don't know, you would think they would ask, right?
Yes, you'd hope so.
And it puts the town in a good place to have somebody have signed something or submitted something that says that, so that if they're not, it's their responsibility to find out about those things if they've signed something that says they will comply with those.
Mhm.
But I think as a town, we support people as much as possible. In requesting curb cuts, requesting building permits, whatever. We're not trying to make it hard for them.
Right.
And this isn't trying to make it harder for people, it's just trying to make it so that all the information is there that's necessary for you to judge
Right.
whether it's something that we want to do or not.
Yep.
Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. I'll let Roger know.
Yeah, and we can always, change it.
Right, I think.
It's not something that's cast in stone and,
Yeah.
this is gonna be the way it's gonna be forever. If we wanna update it again, we can update it again.
Right, and the questions I was asking Roger, he seemed to have the answers as far as, what those things fell under and,
Mhm. Good.
yeah, it seems like just a couple other things here. The bridge at the bottom of the hill on East-West Road below the Grange, I don't know if you've noticed, they poured the actual guardrail post there, the cement one, and I think they're just waiting for it to cure before they reattach everything to it and finish it up. So that is in progress. We did end up applying for that Better Roads grant. Zeke signed that. And that was for Sunset Lake Road, Butterfield and Kelly. And Wyndham Regional actually helped quite a bit on that.
That's the other side of town.
Yeah, it's kind of trying to do the furthest spot.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's in the Brattleboro watershed.
Uh-huh.
So we stand maybe a little bit better chance of getting them.
Uh-huh.
But it's a long ways over there.
Yeah, it sure is.
So we have been doing some ditching, cleaning up the side of the roads as far as old barbed wire, fence, any of those kind of things. just to make it easier to mow in the future. Been doing some grading, hauling some gravel. We're starting to clean up some of the trees that have been scattered throughout town would have fallen.
Yeah.
There's quite a few of them, just that we're kind of try to do a couple days at a time of that. Right now, Newfane is renting an excavator, and this excavator actually has a mower on it, and we're hoping to rent it for a week. This is to do some of the steep banks over the guardrails where you don't want to send people. Camp Arden Road is one of the roads. There's quite a bit on. East-West Road, down below Janice Dukes on that section. And then we will have to do some cleanup to go along with that though, too. There's a few spots.
And that's so that things don't grow up and
Yeah.
influence the road, or?
Yeah, a lot of times when you get that,
On the
20-foot, like, small trees during ice storms and things like that, they'll bend right over and lay in the road, so. And when they become 4 or 6 inch, they're just very hard to take care of. Out on Camp Arden Road, between the band rail and the river, down on that steep bank, if you get too many bigger trees, if they deroot,
Right, then they pull the whole bank out.
right, so it's better to keep them cut back some. And then on the other side, you have the same thing. They're all on that real steep bank and they'll fall into the road.
Yeah, it must be a delicate balance though,
Right.
between maintaining the bank with the roots and
Right.
cutting it enough that you don't have things falling in the road.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to dig those stumps out on that steep a bank.
Right.
Because then you would get a lot more washing.
Yeah.
But people might question it because it is a mower and it does reach right up there, and I mean this is what it's for. But
You'll have one of the town crew run it?
yeah, yeah, we're hoping to actually, they're demoing a JCB up there with one on it, and we're actually hoping to demo that one for 2 days so we can get a little bit more. And I told them that we aren't looking to buy one right off either. I mean, it's hopefully it's been working out good renting it, and then we do an area, but other than that,
When are we gonna get our first snow?
January 30th.
We were guessing in our house and somebody said, ask Lee.
Yeah.
January 30th. No.
I'll put that in the minutes.
Then he's like, wrong again, wrong again.
Any other questions for Lee? Okay. All right, thanks, Lee. Is there anything under correspondence for information that you'd like to discuss? Okay. We have nothing under correspondence for discussion and/or action, so that brings us to new business. And we have some health insurance rates. The period for re-enrollment is open now. We have some MVP rates. Pam McFadden, who's usually been knowledgeable about the insurance plan and programs, is going to be coming back, and I'm going to meet with her on Friday
Okay.
And then we'll try to schedule a meeting with all the employees who have the insurance, so we can go over and discuss that with them. And we have to, if we re-enroll in this, we have to do that by December, by a date in December, later in December.
December 15th, I think.
Yeah. So that's where that stands right now. But it, initially it looks pretty good. So we'll see when we look through it more carefully, how it actually is. I don't know if we have any gravel pit updates? No?
Are you saying, no, there aren't any, or you don't know if there are?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
Did you hear anything about a meeting on Friday?
Yes, there's some meetings.
Okay, we are
Right.
still gonna,
Okay,
alright,
yeah. You might want to check,
okay,
just to make sure it's going.
alright.
All right, possible update on the school playing fields. I haven't heard anything new, and we have no one here to present a cleaned up lease agreement.
We're waiting for that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I guess we'll continue to wait.
Do you want me to just email Christina and let her know we're waiting for that?
I think it was pretty clear that that
Okay.
was the next step, and so.
Michael was gonna do
Yeah,
that.
they must, I'm assuming they don't have it ready yet.
Okay.
We've got, we're going to have a special town meeting on November 14th to ask if voters will approve spending money for an audit. And we have to have an audit proposal for them to consider. And we have two. And one is from R.H.R. Smith of Maine, and the other is from Sullivan, Powers and Company, and they're out of Montpelier. And we've had this for a couple of weeks now. What would you like to do with this?
Is it timely such that we should approve one or the other? What's our job, what's our role?
Let's say we, next Wednesday, the 14th, we'll have this special town meeting. Right now, the warning says, will the voters approve taking up to $20,000 from the highway department surplus that we have from paving, and put that in the general fund to pay for an audit to be conducted in this fiscal year. And so we have, while we had to warn that, between 30 or 40 days before the actual meeting, during that time we actually got some estimates in. And we have the estimate from Sullivan and Powers for $14,500. And we have the proposal from R.H.R. Smith and Company for $5,500. So,
We can't actually approve it,
no,
that's
we
gonna
can't
be
approve
approved,
it, but
right?
we can say which
Recommend.
one are we going to recommend
Right.
to the voters next Wednesday. And we can make a recommendation, and someone from the floor could
Could change it.
change it, yeah.
Mhm.
Is there like a, when you need it done by, a date? Are both companies able to do it, I guess, fairly soon?
Yeah, there was a question about R.H.R. Smith being so much lower than Sullivan and Powers. And so it was almost a red flag because it was so much lower. And so we wondered okay, why are they so much lower? Charlotte called around some places, and a couple towns said while they were satisfied with the work, they waited a long time to get the report. So I called the company and asked them about that, and asked if we had a specific timeline, could they meet that? And they told me that the winter time isn't a busy time for them, so they thought they could get this done. If voters approved spending this money and having an audit, they could have this done, have an audit done by January 1st of 2019, and have the report to the town delivered by the 19th of February, so 2 weeks before town meeting.
I guess the other question is it going to be, because it doesn't seem like very much money to me, but for that much paperwork. But I guess is this audit going to
Cut the mustard.
right in our next goal?
Yeah.
You know, coming down.
So Hugh was asking about that, and he had to be away, so he asked me to call Bob Fisher, the town attorney,
Yeah.
to see if there were any problems that he knew of. And he was going to talk with the finance department in Brattleboro and get back to me that day if there were any problems. So he didn't get back to me, so Brattleboro had no problem. He referred me to Bob Giuliani, a bond attorney in Montpelier. And this Bob Giuliani is who Bob Fisher would recommend we use to apply for the bond if the voters approve it. So I called Bob Giuliani. He said he works with bond applications that have used R.H.R. Smith to conduct the audits many times, and he had no reservations in recommending them. He thought their work was had no problem. He was enthusiastic about recommending.
Oh, that's good then.
But we've also had Sullivan and Powers actually do an audit here, and we had no problems. We were very pleased with their results and the work they did. So we've got a couple of ways we can do this. We can just take this information to the special town meeting and present it, or we can choose to recommend one if we'd like.
Well, I think either way, we're gonna need to give some background and share the information that you just shared
Mm-hmm.
from, with Lee's, from Lee's questions.
Mm-hmm.
But with the information we have, I don't have any qualms in recommending R.H.R. Smith. I mean, it seems like the economical thing to do. Is there a reason, would there be a reason for us to recommend Sullivan and Powers?
Only based on the fact they did it before, but.
5,500, 14.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
It seems kind of like a no-brainer. And
Yeah.
it seems like you've done due diligence to, poke around and get feedback, you and Charlotte. So, seems to make sense to me to recommend one over the other.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So do you need a motion on that?
Let's do that. And we can recommend this, but we can also let voters know what the option.
Option was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So,
Do you want me to make a motion?
sure.
Let's see, I'll make a motion that we recommend R.H.R. Smith for $5,500 for an audit at the special town meeting on November 14th.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Let's see. And the purpose of this audit is going into town meeting. If things continue to go like we hope, we'll ask voters to approve purchasing the Renault gravel pit with the town of Putney and financing that with a bond that we would apply for later in the spring of 2019. If we, the voters approve that, the bond bank requires an audit within the past year. So that's why we are going to ask the voters on the 14th to approve an audit. Just so we have this ready. If they vote down the purchase of the gravel pit, we will have had an audit, which isn't the worst thing in the world to have. The last audit we had, we approved an audit in 2013 that was performed by Sullivan and Powers in 2014. Okay, so we have a motion to recommend R.H.R. Smith.
And a second.
Yeah. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll recommend them and see where it goes. Now, let's see. All right, well, with Rachel Glickman's resignation, we have an opening on the select board. We've had 3 people submit letters of interest. What would you like to do?
Are we hoping to appoint somebody at this meeting?
We could. It is on the agenda, so we could.
And is there a reason to appoint somebody tonight? Is it a timely thing to do? Is it important?
There's, statute says you shouldn't dilly-dally too much. But we just got one letter yesterday.
Last night?
Yeah, so we haven't had any time to look into that. Hugh is not here. So we could go ahead tonight, or we could table it and do it when we have a full 4-member board in 2 weeks. So what would you like to do? And that would give us time to talk with.
Well, so with the letter that we got last night, that was from Dan Tyler, would we want to invite him to the board and talk with him? Would that be something that typically we would do?
I think the way we've done it so far is we haven't invited anyone to the board for a formal interview, but we might have, talked with someone on the phone or, so.
I mean, I talked with Dan on the phone for quite a while last night, and any time a younger person is interested in stepping up to civic duty, I'm pretty much in favor of it. But the other 2 people that we have, Louis and Joe, both have been on the select board. They're known people that, we're about to go into budget season. It's not rocket science, but, you know, it is nice to have people that have experience, but I'd like to seriously consider Dan, so if it's necessary to have him come in and talk to us, then I think that we should wait. You know, if other people aren't ready to make a decision. We have to have 3 people voting, so we
Right.
all have to
Okay.
agree
All right.
on the person, so.
Okay. All right. So, any thoughts?
I'm fine with making an appointment this evening, but
Okay. All right.
because we really weren't required to actually post the position.
Mhm.
It was just, we had to post that it was a vacant seat,
Right,
so.
right.
Right.
So it wasn't like we didn't set any deadline for, you know, applicants per se,
Mhm.
so.
Okay. Let's see, we could have, my inclination is to table it until the 21st. That way we can have, if we want to, if someone wants to talk with Dan and or talk with anybody else, then we can do that. And then we'll have 4 members at our November 21st meeting, and we could make that could be when we make our appointment.
That's fine with me. I mean,
Okay.
you could make a motion, I suppose,
Yeah, well,
and we could discuss it, but,
I think,
I mean, you know, again, I had a conversation with Dan, so I heard him directly, and, you know, I don't know, I'd like to do whatever's needed to help other people feel comfortable with him.
mhm. Okay, then, you know, Hugh is away, let's wait till the 21st.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay, so we'll
and
table
do we need
that.
to ask the other 2 candidates if they want to come speak with us?
Well-
I'm not thinking of asking Dan to come,
Okay,
okay, because,
I think what Zeke said is if any of us want the opportunity to, then this gives us the time to.
okay.
yeah. Yeah, no one has to, but it gives us just the time. And, yeah, we'll make our decision on the 21st then.
Okay.
You could actually make it on next week. Because you have a
We
special
could.
town meeting, if you have everybody there.
We could.
I'm just thinking, because of your budget, you'd wanna get a person in there to start, and that'd be a regular meeting, so you could,
Mhm. Yeah, right now, we're scheduled to start, you know, regular budget meetings on the 28th, but we could have a short business session on the 14th, so,
Yeah, I'm
That
out of
should-
town on the 14th, though.
oh, okay,
I'd like to be there on the, I can be there on the 21st.
okay. All right, let's stick with the 21st.
You know, if there were a reason to do it then, I wouldn't want to stop the board from doing it, but, you know, the other thing is, you know, like Hugh said for tonight, he was willing to call in, you know, I could also call in, but
Okay,
I am out of town on the 14th.
all right. Okay. Let's see, we have our informational meeting for the special town meeting scheduled for 7. So,
We've got another 20 minutes.
yes, we've gone through our regular agenda. So we can recess until 7.
Great.
Do we have a motion?
I would move that we recess until our special town meeting at 7 o'clock.
Oh, informational meeting.
Informational meeting. Oh, I was looking down here. Our
Yeah.
informational meeting at 7 o'clock. You're right.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm going to call this informational meeting to order. And this is to provide information about the special town meeting that we've warned for November 14th. We're going to hold that meeting at the Grange at 7 p.m. on the 14th. And the purpose of the special town meeting, this is the actual warning. The legal voters of the town of Dummerston are hereby notified and warned to meet at the Grange in Dummerston on Wednesday, November 14th, 2018 at 7 p.m. to transact the following business of the town. Article 1. Shall the voters of the town of Dummerston authorize the Select Board to transfer up to $20,000 of monies from the Highway Fund to the General Fund to be used for an audit of the town accounts. And this was approved on the 10th of October. So, we're asking voters to approve spending surplus money in the highway budget to fund an audit of the town accounts. The surplus came about at town meeting in March. Voters approved raising and spending up to $95,000 for paving. We had a bid that came in for paving West Street and part of Stickney Brook. And it came in at $60,500. And so we have that surplus money. And that's what we would use to, we would take that money with voter approval and move it to the general fund to pay for an audit. The purpose of the audit is, and you can chime in anytime you want. But,
You're doing a great job,
Okay.
Zeke.
the purpose of the audit, we actually, in March, at town meeting, this coming March, we plan to ask voters at town meeting to approve the purchase of the Renault gravel pit. And we would do this with the town of Putney. And we, over the next few months, will present why we think this is a good proposition for the town. But we would right now plan to, if the voters approve, plan to finance this purchase through going to the bond market. And the requirement to apply for a bond is, among other things, you have had to have an audit conducted of your town finances within the last calendar year. So, because that sometimes takes a few months to do, and the bond application period for the summer months is later in the spring, we might not have time to get an audit done if we wait until town meeting. So, we're asking voters to go ahead now, authorize spending the money for an audit to be conducted during the winter and be completed and have our reports before town meeting. So in the event voters approve the purchase, then we'd be ready to go to the bond bank and apply for money for the gravel pit transaction. Now, we've received a couple of bids for audits, and what we plan to do at the special town meeting is read this warrant and the article, but then amend it. And we would amend the article to say, shall the voters of the town of Dummerston authorize the select board to transfer up to $5,500 of monies from the highway fund to the general fund to be used for an audit of the town accounts. That was the lowest bid that we got to conduct the audit, and we've done some research, and we feel as confident as we can that this auditing firm would be acceptable to the bond bank, and so that's what we would recommend to voters. There might be a little, to conduct an audit would take more time. Our treasurer, we might put in a little bit more than that 5,500 just to cover some of the
Extra time.
extra time that it might take to conduct this audit. But I'm waiting to hear back from our treasurer on what that might be. But we would present that at the meeting on the 14th. So, anyone, am I missing anything, or?
Well, you said the lowest bid, did we have more than two?
No, we had two. Our Charlotte Annis, our treasurer, sent our request for proposals to several companies, and two responded. One company had conducted the last audit here in 2014, and their bid was about $9,000 more than this other company that we're recommending. Any questions from?
So does that mean in 2014 we paid 14?
No,
$1,000?
in 2014, actually in 2013 is when voters approved conducting an audit. We hadn't had an audit for years before that. And so we authorized up to $15,000 for the audit. Actually, we got bids, and the actual audit came in that year in 2014 at $12,500. And we were very pleased with the audit and the work that they did.
Yeah.
And
You have any idea why it's half as much money?
that was the questions that we
Yeah, we were a little concerned.
Coming
yeah,
from
we
that
had-
world myself,
It
just,
made us nervous, actually. Do you want to address that? You?
Their hourly rates were the big difference. I mean, the company that was more was, their hourly rates were, I don't have it right in front of me, but it was,
we're more.
yeah, like $165 an hour or something like that. It was a lot more, so.
But that must also be partly based on, now that we've had one, there's that audit as a baseline to look at. I mean,
I think they go from, I think they,
it's not like starting from scratch where you're gathering up all the papers and nobody's ever looked at them and.
Even though it was even though it was back in 2014?
Well, that seems relatively recent. I mean, in my homeowners association background, we always sit in Maryland. I mean, we had to have an audit every year. So audit was just part of it, but it was big. I mean,
Right.
obviously much bigger than, nothing is small in Maryland. So like our little homeowners association was 40,000 people. So, a big budget and a lot of work, but it had to be done every year. But they start, you sort of start, you have those papers laid out, as opposed to if you haven't looked at your own finances and you, for the first time ever, gather whatever papers you've had from the last, so many years. there's a lot of just organizing and thinking. It's not that you're not checking all this year's stuff, but you have some organization already.
Well, I-
Otherwise, it's so much different price that you wonder, just why are there people so cheap?
We did wonder that. You're making me ask the question, when an audit is done, for what period of time is it done? Is it, do you know, Jean?
Well, I thought that would only be for the year before.
Yes.
That's
Just
what I
that one
thought
year,
too.
one
Yes.
fiscal year.
Right.
It's for a fiscal year.
Yeah. No, I mean, but I'm thinking about still, you have to have something
Right, but it's a
physically to
different
look,
company.
you have to get
Right.
every,
Oh, the town
They-
accounts and books, yes, and
You
the
know, they
last town
still-
report is what they'll use.
and they have just, it's not that they're gonna sign off on a new one just because someone else did it, but they still have that as a baseline that somebody else has looked and gone over and seen whatever comments they're gonna make or irregularities or just best practices that they're gonna suggest. That's sort of been done once, which does make it easier, even though you're looking at a different year's books. They're sort of, because if the books were in a mess, then you couldn't just go on. You would have had to fix everything based on the audit. So it means whatever was going on is already, at least by one firm's correction, corrected and okay. And
I mean, we feel pretty good about the way our books are kept and, you know, things are organized and regular, and so we're not worried that things are gonna be a mess. But I don't think that the 2014 audit is gonna be a basis for this new company that's gonna come in.
no, I just meant there was already a baseline
Mhm.
audit.
Yeah.
Somebody had looked at books and records and
Right.
had said, okay,
Yep,
what you're doing, your system,
Yeah.
your process
right.
is suitable
Mhm,
for your town business. Are they local, relatively, or far?
One of the owners is from St. Johnsbury, but the company, and they do quite a lot of work in Vermont for school systems and municipalities and public utilities. But their office, their main office is in Maine.
Sometimes they just want to get a foothold and,
Well, they have quite a footprint in Vermont, so.
you know, but it's just such a big difference.
Mhm.
And, I mean, there's a reason why people have different hourly rates. Their experience, they'll be, sometimes a higher hourly rate, but they work faster. It's not like you're getting a big discount. If it takes them twice as long, it's still the same rate.
I think that they said in their proposal
How long?
how many hours it would take them.
Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't have an estimate of
Right.
total. Just interesting.
Mhm.
Well, it sounds a
So
lot
you-
better
you will-
than
you will get-
20,000.
You will get a chance on November 14th to say whether you want to go with this or not. And voters would also have the option, we're going to amend it to recommend the 5,500. If, Jean brings Harold could, amend it to,
The higher one.
the
Can you imagine
9,000,
that?
yeah. So, but that's how a town meeting goes. It's up to the voters to decide. So
They
we're
could
just
vote
going
it
to
down.
try to provide as much information and to have done the background research so that we can give people that information and, have done our due diligence in looking at these two groups that have provided us with estimates.
So I guess the only other question would be if the town meeting in March
Mhm.
doesn't agree with the proposal to buy
Mhm.
the gravel pit,
Right.
we might not have needed.
Well,
Right, we thought about that, yeah.
I mean,
But-
Right.
just looking at all stuff.
to
Right.
have it, it's not the worst thing in the world
No.
to have an audit, so we
It
feel.
is good practice, I
Yes.
would think.
Some towns do it more frequently than we do it.
Yes, Putney does it like your housing group every year. You know, audits in Dummerston have been done fairly sporadically. You know, when we do the budgets, and everybody wants more money each year, and we're trying to keep a handle on it. Sometimes the idea of a budget is one of the things that gets cut, because it's something we can say, well, maybe next year.
Yes.
So I know that our treasurer would like us to, has expressed an interest in having us do a audit
frequent.
every 3 years.
Every 3
She'd like
years,
us to plan on doing an audit every 3 years. So our last one was 4 years ago. So
We're
we
not
don't,
so far
you know,
behind.
voters may turn down the,
Gravel.
purchase of the gravel pit, but having an audit won't
Certainly
be
doesn't
a
harm
bad
anything. It's
thing
just-
to have had.
But just
So-
thinking of all the town meetings where the fight is only about, can we give another $250
Yes.
to the camp or to, I
Right?
can't even remember what, the farm,
You know-
farmland, you know,
Protection
something
fund,
that,
yeah.
you know.
Well, it seems like the higher the price on whatever we're debating, the shorter the debate is. It's when you get down to money that, you know, people,
Can identify
Yes,
just
you know,
small.
yeah, that's where you can really understand those figures. And sometimes we tend to have more to say about those items, those articles on the agenda, so. So it's, the meeting's on the 14th, 7 PM at the Evening Star Grange. Let's see. Rain or shine. So,
Or snow.
yeah, rain,
No,
yes,
Lee said not until.
yes, we have it on
Yeah.
Lee Chamberlain. our
Yeah,
road
right, January 30th, was it?
Yeah.
As said, no snow until,
That'd be great, we just got our notice from Travis Bristol about plowing.
Is there a minimum about the vote? How many people turn out or?
we were discussing that earlier. But as far as we know, there isn't any minimum. Jean Newell is bringing her husband Harold, and so, you know, we know at least 2 people are going to come.
Matthew's out of town, so I can't bring him.
So,
Oh dear.
so there doesn't seem to be any minimum number. Usually when we hold special town meetings, we get 20, 30 people showing up. That's been my recollection. So,
That might happen when we start talking about the gravel pit. But just for the audit, maybe, so.
yeah, just for the audit, yeah. And the actual decision on the gravel pit, that'll be a town meeting timeframe, so.
So that's gonna be discussed in March.
Yes, yeah, well,
That'll be in the
I'm sure
budget.
spend a lot of time between now and then
Yeah,
discussing it and as we get more
I certainly
information.
hope it passes.
So, if there's no other, can't think of anything else I need to say,
I think you covered it.
all right, then I say we could adjourn. What do you think?
I would move that we adjourn
Just the informational meeting?
the informational meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we're back in our sort of regular meeting. Is there anything else we need to discuss tonight?
Let's see.
I'll make a motion we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.